tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami.
Good morning and welcome back to the show. It's now official. Incumbent MP Kenneth Bryan has declared for the constituency of Georgetown Central.
Good
morning, y'all. Sound ready? Every time you see this symbol, I want you to remember Cayman first.
Mbuso wami awukholana, ilondoloze zuhambe nami, dawo yami ayikholana, mbuso wami awukholana, ilondoloze zuhambe nami. Jerusalema ikhaya lami, ilondoloze uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalema ikhaya lami, ilondoloze uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, mbuso wami awukholana, ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
There's three major things that has to be addressed in the Cayman Islands: cost of living, diversifying the economy, and self-sufficiency. And when I talk about self-sufficiency, I'm talking about our ability, our capacity to be able to take care of ourselves. Let's focus on agriculture, where all of us want to make sure that we're hoping for the best. We always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Just imagine for a second if a hurricane was to come and sit between here and Florida, just like Hurricane Mitch did in 1998 in Honduras. What would happen? I would bet you the shelves would be empty, or at the minimum, very much depleted. That in itself should be able to identify to us that there is a major problem in terms of our capacity to feed ourselves here in the Cayman Islands. We have to solve that problem. And that's why if and when elected, I'm going to head out east and see if we can free up a lot of this locked land, open it up for opportunities for agriculture as well as other types of development. And when it comes to farming, whether it be livestock or plant life, I believe we can look beyond the borders of the Cayman Islands. What's preventing us from going to countries like Jamaica or to Honduras and actually owning or buying farms that are already functioning and operating and even exporting to other countries, making it Cayman Islands property? I believe that that's absolutely possible. In addition to that, creating opportunities for our local investors to be able to invest into those companies and other persons through their pension accounts as well. To me, the opportunities are tremendous, and that's my vision.
Good morning, beautiful folks. What is going on? It feels like a Monday, but you guys know it's actually Tuesday. This is what happens after a long holiday weekend. Everybody ready? Good morning, Louie, Evelyn, Charlene, Anne-Marie, Nicole, James is here from Canada, Olivia, Selena, Jasara, Steve, Felicia, Bonnie, Miss Morna, Marshall from North Carolina. Let's get it. Who else is here? James, good morning. So good to see you. Miss Beulah, of course, got it locked in. Curlew says, yeah, not good for me. I love to come home. Where are you? Come on home. Julie says, good morning to everyone. Enemy, foes, you know what? Morning, all. It doesn't matter who they are, Julie. If they are here, it's a good morning. Good to see Jackie. Miss Charlene is here. Richard is here. We have a lot to talk about, so let's jump into it. We do have Michael Myles, who's going to be joining us a little bit later on in the program. Now, before Miss Morna start cussing me and saying, where's your camera? Why is it not on? Hold on. Let me see if I can turn that on, child, because she loves to see people's face. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Miss Donna. Leanne. Oh, you're stuck in Jamaica. Oh, honey child. How is that? What a mess. There we go. Good morning, one, and good morning, all. How is everyone doing? Ready? Let's get it. So some big stories over the weekend, including the fact that some Cuban nationals got away. So I think we had a show yesterday, by the way. I feel like I kind of felt like we took a break, but we didn't. We had a show Friday and we had one yesterday. So on the program yesterday, we had a bit of breaking news that some Cubans had escaped. Like literally, as we were coming on air, we got word that after 1 o'clock in the morning, the authorities discovered the ankle monitors had lost communication with the monitoring center. Now, it's kind of weird. I'm not quite sure how these ankle monitors work. I guess they have a certain perimeter that they're supposed to be in, aka on land. And within that, they're allowed to travel all over Cayman. Are they allowed to go to the BRAC? Like, I'm not really sure what their restrictions are, but anyway, they had discovered that they were gone. And the bracelets showed them out to sea. So apparently, they jumped in a boat of some sort and have left and gone to sea. Now, last time there were some Cuban nationals that did this. They ended up in Mexico. The Mexican authorities picked them up in Mexican water. When was that? Let me just look that up. I'm trying to remember when that was. But anywho, well, I don't know if this exact same group was actually going to try the same route. So this was, it was a few months back. It was definitely during COVID, as in the last couple months. So I want to say maybe 2 or 3 months ago. Yes, November. There we go. A little bit more than 2 or 3 months. Ooh, the time is flying. So on that occasion, 14 missing Cuban refugees decided to leave the Cayman Islands, and they were rescued by the 5th Naval Region, some vessel, are close to the borders of Mexico. And I think it was actually in Mexican water. So they left November 27th. They made it to Mexico. So yes, thank you, Miss Josephine, for the reminder. Now, this group of 10 left as well over the weekend. So we told you guys that on, was that Monday morning? I think that's when it was, yesterday morning. So they have now been found by American authorities. So listen to this mix-up story this morning. And again, this information is not confirmed by the police yet, but they take their time. Yesterday was a public holiday, so I'm surprised that they said anything at all. But they announced some 12 hours after we told you what had happened. They announced that they had actually gone missing. I guess they figure, listen, if they're already up to sea, it's not like you can do much about it. So they have confirmed that they've gone missing. They're looking into it, okay. It is what it is. Now, here's where the story gets interesting is our sources have said this morning that they have been picked up by the U.S. authorities and they're returning them to Cayman. Okay. Obviously, they don't want to be here. And I think amongst those missing, remember the couple that were protesting? I understand Erica. Remember, we actually interviewed Erica Javier. Javier has been he has been protesting. Remember, he's, I think, the father of the little child over their status. And then the government was supposed to work something out for them. And I thought that that had settled it. But, you know, I guess not. I don't know. So anyway, they're going to be coming back. What do you do with them? This is my question. What exactly do you do with them now that they're coming back? Obviously, if they have made this very brave escape, they packed up, I guess, what they wanted to take. I don't know where they got a boat from, but I suspect that means they no longer wish to be here. And perhaps we should respect their wishes. Except I don't know where are they going. Like, we can't just say to Mexico, oh, take them. It's your responsibility. Mexico's like, what? Obviously, if they get into Mexican waters, and they will process them as migrants. But I don't think that we have a choice. I suppose they have a choice to give up their refugee status and return to Cuba. But somehow I don't think that that's going to happen. But clearly they're not happy in the Cayman Islands, and that's quite sad. You know, this is not the land of honey and whatever for everybody. Trust me, we should know, as Caymanians, a lot of us don't think it's land of honey either. But on that vessel was the baby. So you guys know the baby is traveling with them, or they have a baby. And so the child is, I think, about a year old. So that young baby is now with them as well, which is like, wow. I always think it's so incredibly interesting when people decide to make a journey like that and they take a young child. So there are all sorts of rumors in circulation. Some people are speculating if they had anything to do with the robbery incident over the weekend. Now, you guys remember that the jewelry store got robbed on what day was that? Saturday. So there was a brazen morning robbery of a jewelry store on the waterfront. So this is the one that's right, what used to be the bakery building, Norberg's Bakery. So that building now has a jewelry store and some other tourist stores in there. And they got robbed on Saturday morning, I think shortly after 10 o'clock. So I don't know if the two are connected or not. Some people speculate that it is, and that jewelry was payment for the boat and the journey. I do not know. The police have certainly not said anything. So thank you so much. I've got additional sources saying that they have found them drifting in a boat. And then have brought them back. Hot mess. What that thing? So anyway, someone just sent me. People are so funny. You guys are so hilarious, the things that you send me. And I cannot always repeat them. So someone has just said that the government needs to find a way to allow them to leave instead of supporting them. And now that they've destroyed government property, over $5,000 worth of bracelets, monitoring equipment, how will that work? So I don't know how that's going to work. They probably won't do anything to them. You know, that's just how the cookie crumbles. I don't expect anything will happen. What is interesting though is how does this work? If like wherever they were staying, like those people now, because government rents facilities and stuff for them to stay at these homes. What if those people no longer feel comfortable having them at their home? Because now they're kind of like refugees that tried to escape. Because I think part of their conditions are that you're not supposed to leave. But at the same time, I've always found it peculiar. Like if they have been granted refugee status, who are the 10 that are wearing the monitoring bracelets? Because I don't think that guy Javier has one on. There was another guy, and I think you guys remember that we spoke to him, and he was showing us his bracelet, and he was talking about the embarrassment of having to wear this bracelet because he is not a criminal, and he's basically, I think his refugee application is pending. So I'm just curious. I don't think Erica doesn't have a bracelet. Who are all the other ones? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in due course. Um, I don't know where they were going. Someone just sent me the map of where they were. We'll see once they come back if they want to come on the show and have an interview, because they certainly don't mind talking to us. So thank you, Damien. Josephine said their destination is always the US. Yeah, I think they try to get into American waters, but they seem to have been going in the wrong direction. So I'm not sure how that goes, but maybe if they get to Mexico or another country, it's easier to get into the US. I'm not really sure. Like, America's that away, not that away, I think, when you're looking at the map. So good luck to them. Marshall says send them back to Cuba. I don't think that that's an option, because once they have received refugee status or they have a pending application, then you've accepted that at least they have an arguable case. And, they are claiming that they're political refugees, as far as I know. I think that's the only kind of refugee applications that we consider. So that means that what they've essentially said is their lives are in danger if they're returned to Cuba. Now, I don't ever know how they prove that or anything of the sort. I don't know what the application process looks like. We have attempted to get information on the refugees and how this whole thing works. And basically, CBC has said, we don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, we just have general questions. No, we don't want to be interviewed. Government, you guys need to get your stuff together. The people want to hear from you. The people deserve to hear from you. And I don't really know why there's always this need to cloak, so much information from the general public. So it is what it is. Anyway, that's what we've got for you. In addition to that, a crane and scaffolding has collapsed on a condo site next to Trafalgar Place down by the jungle. There is that big crane that's there. So we are waiting. We are waiting on some pictures or some confirmation of that situation. So, okay, here's the deal. So it's actually 10 in total, or 13 in total, my apologies, that have gone missing. 10 are monitored. So I think the authorities are more concerned about the 10 that they monitor, because they would be individuals that have not yet been granted refugee status. So Erica, her husband, and the baby, I believe, make up the additional 3. So it is 13 in total. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that helps to explain it a little bit. What a hot mess. So this crane that has somehow met with an accident, that it has collapsed. We will see what photos we can get, hopefully something during the show, and we'll update you guys. Cayman Brack had an accident over the weekend. We'll be putting that story up a little bit later on. And in addition to that, they're really upset because their ATM machine has been down for like 5 days now. So everyone is wondering what is going on with that situation. It's kind of tough because you only got one ATM machine on the back, right? So you have to go stand in line and get money, except the bank wasn't open all weekend. So that has created a bit of an issue. Okay, Miss Bonnie. Perla, good morning. Yeah, government, sometimes it seems to me that government is confused about what they're going to do about certain situations, because they know that from the onset they haven't really handled it properly. And in their confusion, they don't ever want to talk to anybody about it. It's like off-reg. Off-reg apparently is very confused about what they're doing with the solar program. And they said, oh, we've talked about it enough. How can you talk about something enough when the people are saying, we want to hear from you? It's like, really? Government, aka the civil service, needs to take a very different approach. I know poor Mr. Franz Manderson, he's been killing himself to try to create this world-class civil service concept, but they're not ready. They're not there yet. They're nowhere near there, in fact. But I'm going to tell you guys something tomorrow. There's a story that we're working on that is going to blow your cap off of your head when we tell you this story, because you're not going to believe how your elected officials can waste so much money. And yet they're telling you to re-elect them because they're the best thing after sliced bread. Let me show you 2 reasons why you should really think hard about electing any alliance member and any progressives member. Here's reason number 1.
It is citizens like you that go wisely to the polls to make one of the hardest choices each and every 4 years. This time, based on what the other options are, it should be fairly easy. And it will be wise to vote for the alliance members to ensure that continued health protocols are left in place and not just thrown through the side by those that are seeking office, the wolves in sheep's clothing. We are very well off as a financial jurisdiction, and we need to ensure that the many Caymanians who are suffering are looked into and addressed by this administration. It is your collective and moral conscience that decides who your next member of parliament is going to be. That candidate must be willing to work with the government if he or she wants things done for you and your family in the constituencies that you come from. If they clearly cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen, they clearly do not have you at heart.
Okay, so two things. I know that as Caymanians, we have a very unique dialect. Over the weekend, the MP from Bermuda, Mr. Thomas Famous, he's been on this program before, did an editorial piece discussing, he thought that us doing the public forums that the chamber puts on were a good thing because it certainly separated the boys from the men, at least in the field of being able to articulate a concept, the national issues facing the country. Now, this video is painful to watch because poor Vincent, he has an issue with his W's. So when he says certain words, he actually says V instead of W. Now, is that something? I'm trying to remember from Spanish class. There's some words that are, the Spanish alphabet is a little bit different. But instead of him being able to say willing, he says villain. And then he cannot pronounce the word constituency. Now, here's the thing. We all get tripped up on certain words. I can't think of any right now, but I'm sure there's some that trip me up, especially if I haven't said them in a while. But when you're reading a speech and you prepared your speech and a basic word like constituency, if you can't say it naturally, then you make sure that you practice. And so I'm always in awe of the people that the progressives will put up on stage as part of their alliance core or part of the progressives who cannot speak and who are incapable. I can think of 4 of their immediate candidates: Barbara Connolly, Vincent Frederick, David White, and Frank Cornwall. They're dismal. They're unqualified for the job. And yet they tell you to vote for these individuals anyway. And the only reason that they can give you to vote for them is that they're part of this alliance team. And this alliance team needs to stay together. That's the only reason they can give you. Listen to what they say. And they claim that they've done such a great job that keeping them together at all costs, including electing 4 woefully unqualified candidates, is a good thing. So when I was reading Mr. Famous's editorial piece, which, by the way, he's graciously shared it with us, so it is on CMR as well as in his Bermuda newspaper, I thought, on the one hand, he's praising us for even the chamber for even hosting these debates and the media coverage that these debates have received. But it also reminded me of the fact that as Caymanians, we're no longer the island that time forgot. So we are being judged by regional and international standards. And as my good friend, who shall remain nameless because she is a civil servant, said to me over the weekend, it's such a shame that we want to elect unqualified individuals. And then she said, and we have idiots backing them. We need public education. And if people don't recognize the international embarrassment that comes out of electing people like that, shame on us. It's no longer small time politics, folks, where all they're going to do is rake the backyard of somebody's house. Nothing's wrong with that. And some of them are better at that than perhaps being on an international stage. But at any given point, one of them can get a ministry, aka John John. At any given point, they're now in the limelight, aka John John. And they're sitting there every single day doing press conferences and press briefings. And you look at this dude, and I don't know who was impressed by him, but I surely wasn't. And when people started expressing their dismay at the fact that he knows nothing medical about COVID, his comments at the press briefing were largely about other things, saying his prayer, telling people turn on your yard, stay home in like 50 different languages. That's all fine and dandy. but no one really got the feeling that he was entirely competent as health minister. Now he's going up against Ozzy Bodden, who has been the health minister as well. And ironically, people who have worked in the health industry and continue to do so, who are civil servants, have said, listen, no two bones about it. This is like night and day in terms of understanding and engagement at the ministerial level. So, we have to start expecting more of our candidates. I don't care if they're your personal friends, if they're your mama, if they're your daddy, uncles, it doesn't matter. Expect more of elected officials. They should be able to represent us. They should be able to articulate certain ideas at the very minimum. Now, here's another reason why you need to proceed cautiously with the progressives.
But the first thing I want to say to those of you from Red Bay and Prospect who are asking me, when are we going to have a meeting in Prospect and Red Bay? Soon come. Me and Austin will be there. It is going to be the biggest meeting that we have ever had when Austin and I come to town. So do not worry. Do not be faint of heart. We will be there in due course.
Wow. So here we are, literally days. Next week, Wednesday, folks. So we've got 1 week and 1 day. Next week, Wednesday, is the general election that we're all waiting for. Alden brought it forward, telling us that he needed to do that, not to address the McKeeva issue. Yet him and his running mate, who are jurisdictionally connected, Red Bay and Prospect, are right next to each other. They're split right down the middle, have not had a meeting yet. You tell me how this makes any sense. They don't care enough about the people of this country to even have had a political meeting. He's the one who called an early election. So if he called an early election, at the very minimum, he should be ready. The progressives have lots of resources, lots of money backing them. They can put together a big stage and big meetings. They're doing stuff as a team collectively. And yet him nor his alliance member, Austin, have bothered to have a meeting in their constituency, and he's telling you soon come. Really? People of Red Bay and Prospect, soon come? Is soon come good enough for you? Michael Myles, is soon come good enough for you?
Absolutely not.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Sandy. Good morning to the listening audience.
This soon come concept doesn't sit well with me. What are you thinking? I know you've had a few gatherings and stuff already. You're a one-man show. You're running as a true independent. When you see people who are part of the alliance, they get the support of this team and all these resources, not even bother to have a meeting 1 week out from a general election, what crosses your mind? You're also a voter.
First of all, Sandy, here's what I believe. These people aren't really supported. They're there to make up a number.
Right.
So Alan don't really care about people like Vincent Frederick. Alan would never even let Vincent Frederick into his circle, right? He's a number. That's the best that they could do because no one else is going to join this coalition team. I will not vote for a coalition government, much less this particular government, because I've been in government and around these people long enough to know that it's the same thing that they're going to do year after year, right? Like there's not going to be any changes to what it is.
Right.
Here's what I want to share with you. As I was listening to what you were saying and certainly showing some of the commercials about, Alan's big thing about going back to Prospect. Here's what I wanted to share with the listening public and certainly yourself. An average salary for an MP is about $10,000 a month. It could be more or less, but on average, it's about $10,000 a month, which is about $120,000 a year. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
So let's times that by 4 years, because Austin have been in now 4 years. That's $480,000 over a 4-year period.
Yep.
Now, here's another shocking, sort of a figure. He's also being paid $2,000 to be a counselor above his salary. and he is actually in the Premier's human services ministry. So let's do $2,000 for the year. It's $24,000
for the month.
It's $24,000 for the year.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So he makes $2,000 a month.
Yes.
That's $24,000 a year for 4 years. That's $96,000.
Yep. So call it $500,000 for sure.
Correct. And I'm not finished yet. So Austin and the Premier should have established an office somewhere, whether it's in Prospect, Red Bay, or whatever. They haven't done that, but they get about $4,000 a month to establish this office. He's never established an office, right?
It's actually $5,000.
Is it $5,000?
Yes,
so
my dear.
I actually underquoted. So I thought it was $4,000, right? So here's the math that I did. So if you're getting $5,000 a month in this, so you're looking at 5,000 times 12 is $60,000 times 4. So he have pocketed $240,000 over a 4-year period. So let's add all of this up. $240,000 plus his salary of $120,000 plus his stipend of $96,000 over the 4-year period, $456,000. So when I hear people like Vincent Frederick and them talk about this direction that they want to go in, it's about money. That's what this is about. This is not about making any changes, because if you want to make changes as a citizen, you can make changes. Sonny, you started the Mall Road. It has taken off. It's reliant now on people rely on this to provide news and to hold people accountable. People have started a lot of different things for a long time. What these people are doing is jumping in the race because they need to make up a number, and they're promised money. They're promised a position in prestige, in power, in part of a government, that's all that they're going to have. So these folks are going to be making a lot of money to do a lot of little. And that's what I think about the coalition government. They're not going to do anything with substance.
And it's sad because we discussed, someone just sent me a screenshot of our discussion. I can't remember what the date was, but this was a number of months ago when we were talking about, in addition to that, Michael, that they have now given themselves a 3-month severance package.
$30,000.
Yeah, whether they're elected, retiring, coming out of public office, whatever, all of them will now walk away, if they're not reelected or if they leave office, with a severance package of 3 months. And someone said to me, how long do you think anybody else in private or public sector would have to have worked for an organization to get that money? And there's no requirement that these MPs have been in there for any amount of time except for the last term, I guess, which is just unbelievable. So in addition to your figures that you have discussed, Michael, add another 30 grand, as you said, to that as well. So it is shocking, and it is quite unfortunate. I mean, the Premier, of course, makes more money than that. And tomorrow, I did say that I'm going to be disclosing an exclusive story tomorrow, and you guys are going to have to wait for it because it hasn't yet been written, but I've got all my information together that's kind of related to this whole salary situation. And you're going to be shocked and surprised at how this government in particular has managed to waste the people's money. And yet they wish to sit down and tell you what a wonderful job they have done and want you to grade them just on their COVID response. And they're out there perpetrating this lie that apparently, if you do not reelect them, whoever you reelect is going to be the person to just fly open the borders. You know, they think that every other person running for elected office has absolutely no sense whatsoever. And they're going to be throwing the borders open and allowing COVID to seep back in here, which I can't believe that people actually believe that, but apparently some people do. And so, that's one of the things, one of the bits of misinformation that they are putting out there in order to fearmonger and to get people to vote for them.
I totally agree with you. When you look at someone like Austin, for example, you just played that clip about with the Premier saying that him and Austin is going to be coming back you know, that people in Prospect and Red Bay mustn't fear, you know, that they're going to be coming back in Prospect. What are they going to do? What, get up on a stage, holler a lot, beat their chest, talk about all the things that they've done, the roads that they've fixed, but people are still living paycheck to paycheck? I mean, is that what it is? Austin have been challenged the government on anything. He's made almost $500,000 over the last 4 years. They've made him wealthy. They've made, well, not even wealthy. They've made him rich to his standard without even having to break a sweat. So that's what they've done, right? And they will continue to do that because despite him making all that money, he still needs $30,000 as a leave-in gift off the people after making almost $500,000, right? He talks about, you know, things like we can improve in education, and yet for the last 4 years, he never mentioned anything when it comes to things like education. So how do people trust someone like Austin, who will simply just be a puppet for the sake of being a puppet, right? He don't really want to pose anything. He's not bringing anything different to the table, and it is a disappointment because I know that people hung their hats on him. He had berated the government for what, 7-8 years on Rooster. He had called people like Alden corrupt and called McKeever corrupt, and their governments are corrupt. And then he says, oh, well, you know, I had to join the government to get something done. And I say to you, Sana, because you've had your ear to the ground, tell me what he has actually done. You know, he hasn't really done anything, hasn't improved anything, hasn't brought a bill. You know, he was part of the community service ministry. He's bragged that we're now supporting 13,000 Caymanians on welfare. You think he's brought a bill to reduce welfare or to get people that's been on welfare for years off of welfare? He's not going to, because the more dependent that he wants Caymanians, the better for them. Because as Caymanians hold out their hand, they can be putting a $50 gift card, paying their rent, giving them a turkey here and there. Sonny, I've walked Prospect twice. I've knocked on just about every door. 99% of the doors I've knocked on, haven't seen him. I don't know one thing that he has done, right? And people
it's so unfortunate because I gotta tell you, you know, as a person, on a personal level, I had really, really high hopes for Austin, and I think we all did, knowing that he was the type of person that would have held the government accountable, given his track record, as you said, of being on the radio. But unfortunately, the second he decided to work with the progressives, he had to do what everybody else who works with the progressive does, which is become a soldier that doesn't question anything. And as David White would say, end up, you know, eating your own vomit. When it came to why he was now able to work with McKeever Bush after being a staunch protester, antagonist of Mr. Bush for many, many years. So how do you go from that? And it's the same mentality. It's like, you know what? Alden is in charge. If he tells us to keep our mouths shut, we're going to do so, whether it's in relation to Mr. Bush assaulting someone, or, you know, the things that we've had to say about Bush in the past, or we've had to say about the doc in the past. And not only did Austin, unfortunately for him, toe the line and not have anything to say, they actually used Austin as a pawn to try to convince people to support the doc. So he flipped the script entirely. And I don't know I haven't really had a conversation with Austin about this, and I don't know what he was thinking, but I mean, Austin's not a stupid guy. So he must have known that, wow, I'm now being told to take a position in relation to this doc project that is 1,000% the opposite of what I have previously said for years on radio. Certainly, number one, people are going to be like, are you serious right now? And number two, you've not just undermined your own credibility as an MP, your own, you know, professional credibility, even as a former talk show host. But I don't know how you can reconcile in your head.
They can't, Sandy. You know why?
It's crazy.
Let me tell you why he can reconcile that.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have just discussed, without breaking a sweat, the man have made $500,000 over 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what the promise is? Dude, if you do this, you can make money beyond your wildest dreams.
Mm-hmm.
He is looking at retirement, early retirement. He don't have to get out of bed in order to lift anything, talk to anybody. Why not? It's easy, right? You know, you talked about earlier that says that I'm a true independent. Have you seen anybody on my stage? I don't need anyone on my stage. People are going to vote for me because I'm outcomes driven. I care about Caymanians. I love this country, but I love our people. That's what it is. My track record, I say to folks all the time, you don't need to take my word for it. Go and Google Michael Myles Cayman and you'll see what comes up. Mine has been consistent for the last 30 years. What I want to do is make sure that Caymanians are meeting every standard of being competitive. That's what it is for me, right? Austin and them aren't going to provide that. What they're going to provide is dependency. They sit in ministries that they have power over. A ministry like social services, we could have improved that ministry. And you've noticed, and I want to point out for the people of this country, right? Alan was the Minister of Education. He left that in a shambles. You know why? Because he decided to build big buildings with open classrooms, knowing that open classrooms was something that people across the world got rid of in the 70s and 80s. But he's still arrogant. He built this huge building at Clifton Hunter with a lot of open classrooms. And now the school has never passed an inspection. So that's what Austin has joined. So when he messed that up, he's now over the Department of Children and Family Services and Needs Assessment Unit. In an up economy, pre-COVID, we had 31,000 work permits, and we still had Caymanians making less than $30,000 a year. And Austin brags about, well, you know, we had, 3% unemployment. So why do we need NAU then? If we have 3% unemployment, why did we have still well over 7,000 people being subsidized by NAU, right? You can't say that you have minimal unemployment, but you still have people making less than minimum wage almost, right? That don't make sense because they have not advocated for the resources. I point out things like, the poor relief law. It has not changed in 30 years. It doesn't say anything. I've sent it to people. I said, please make use, read this to me, because this doesn't get anybody off of welfare. It doesn't guide anybody to where resources are in order to help our people. There's no connection between education and NAU and DCFS or health or any of those departments, right? They're not going to do that. And as long as they can keep us divided and disconnected and our hands out, that's what this is for them. So when you ask the question, why would he flip like that? It's money. No one with integrity is going to flip the way that he has if he's not promised something. A ministry seat, maybe. Chances are that's what it is, because they all think that because they now serve a second term, that they should just automatically get a ministerial seat regardless, right? You don't have to be qualified to do this job. I mean, I'm hearing that constantly. People are bringing little to the table. You've just shown a video with Vincent Frederick. What is he known for? I don't know him well. You tell me, Sandy. You've known him longer than I have.
I can't say that I know him personally. And I don't know him to have ever done anything in the community, really. I think he has ran before as a candidate, and then he's one of those that disappears after every time he runs. But what I do know is just last week, the police were at his house about a domestic incident because he's alleged to have assaulted 2 of his own family members. So, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. And again, they have no track record to speak of. And I'm disappointed that the progressives, this is the best that they can do. I mean, when you talk about right, Cayman is incredibly small. We get that. And the people who are eligible to run for office is a smaller group of individuals. But we have some amazing Caymanians who are eligible to run. So it either means that none of them want to touch the progressives with a 10-foot pole, or the progressives just couldn't even muster up enough of, you know, a decent set of complementary MPs this time around. I thought last time was bad, but at least last time, you know, they had some good candidates running. They may not have necessarily gotten in, but it wasn't because of their qualifications why they didn't get in. It's because the people didn't trust them. So trust is obviously another issue. As Robert ironically just says, you cannot trust them. And trust is, I mean, listen, there's sometimes I look at candidates and I'll say, I will pick someone who is less qualified on paper, but that I trust. And I think that's what happened in Georgetown Central last time. Let's be honest. Mark Archer was the more qualified accountant, lawyer, you know, finance minister, this and that, but people were not trusting him. Now, Julie makes up a really important point here as well, Michael and others, that let us not forget that it's not just that $500,000, that $500,000 salary that we're talking about over 4 years. We're also talking about all of the other over, under, and around the table deals that they get. And so there's some individuals, folks, who are making some $22,000 a month. You have a calculator handy there, Michael? You do the math on that. $22,000 a month, do that over 4 years. And those persons have these contracts with the DART organization simply because of their connection to the current government is what is alleged. Now, we haven't seen the pay stub, but our sources are pretty good. And these individuals are said to be formerly what we would call in the world of compliance, PEP. They're politically exposed individuals. They may have been politicians in the past themselves. Now they're consultants, and they're receiving a consultancy fee of $22,000 a month, folks. And it's because when they call the government as a consultant, they have the government in their back pocket. They're pulling Alden strings, and they're able to tell him, well, this is what we want you to do. DART is going to get XYZ out of this deal because we're telling you to make it happen. And that will justify DART paying them $22,000 as a consultant. Can you imagine? Because the payoff for DART and his organization down the line is going to be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. So even when we see them signing this agreement, now I'm not an anti-DART person, so never get me wrong about that. I think the man has done a lot of amazing things for his country. He's made a lot of investments, but he's also a businessman. He's a venture capitalist, and he does have a reputation for making his coins. And sometimes that means he will savagely do so if he needs to.
I agree.
And he will use people. And if our people are stupid enough to be used, you know, I'm $22,000 a month is a lot of money.
But
they're selling us all. How much is that?
That's $264,000 a year. That's over $1.5 million.
Wow.
Over a 4-year period.
Yep.
Right. Like this is what is at stake in people's integrities. Mm-hmm. If you come into this with no money in desperation, you will sell your mother out. That's just what this is. Exactly. That's not what I am going to be doing, and it's certainly not what I am about. This has to be about country. It has to be about people, our people, right? We built the country, Sunday. I mean, look around. Everything is, you know, even though our borders are locked, we're building on every single thing in this country, right? But you know who's not actually benefiting? Caymanians.
Right.
Caymanians aren't benefiting because we have said to them, hey, you know something? If you elect me, I'm going to pay you $2,000 when we get back in. We're not going to do that right now for the 3,000 people that's been impacted in the tourism industry. We're only going to do it when we get back in. So you need to vote for us if we need it. If that's not vote buying, the process is rigged. There's not a house. There's so many houses that I've been to in Prospect that the people have said to me, Austin, I brought a chicken or a ham or a turkey by over this past Christmas. We didn't see him in 4 years, but all of a sudden he pulls up and he rocks up with a ham or a turkey to give to us. Is that what being an MP is about? Is it the standard of leadership that we want to continue? If people need that as a citizen, I'll buy that in a heartbeat. But the majority of people don't need that. They want higher wages. They want a reduced cost of living. They want, things like rooftop solar. They want us to implement the national energy policy with some integrity and either move off-reg to the side or replace them with something that's going to work for Caymanians. They want, when they go to the gas tank, that they're not spending $5 a gallon when everyone else in the rest of the world is paying $1.30 for gas because the barrel of gas has hit net, right? That's what Caymanians want. Caymanians want to be able to afford housing. They want to be able to purchase land that they don't have to auction off the first child in their families. It's not affordable. Our young people, nothing has been connected. And I often share to a lot of folks, Sandy, we give out scholarships, and it's notable. We give out probably $10 million in scholarships almost every year. I worked in the ministry, so I know what that budget looks like. And yet, none of those scholarships is tracked by WORC. Work doesn't know any of those people that are coming back to ensure that they're placed in the workforce. So why do you think that we have so many qualified people coming back and saying, I can't find a job, nobody not helping me find a job? And yet the government is spending hand over fist. Miss Martin sent me last night or yesterday sent me an advert that a young man put on what's it called, the advertising firm there. Help me out here, Sandy, that you can advertise cars and all sorts of
EK?
stuff. EK Trade. A young man put an ad on EK Trade. That's where we are at. He has to put an advert on EK Trade, his resume on EK Trade to get hired as a young person. You know what he said in that? I simply do not want to stay at home. Somebody please hire me. Right? Like, why? Every scholarship, work should know anybody that's on a scholarship should be on the list at work with what experience they have and what they're majored in. That before they come back to this country, if they're overseas or if they're UCC or ICCI, we should know where these youngsters are going. We should not have educated Caymanians sitting at home doing nothing. Because you know what's starting to happen? The talent that these young people are, they're now leaving the country in droves. So we now have a major talent pool deficit because they're going to the UK or the US or Canada and they're giving those people their talent, all because they cannot actually get a job in the Cayman Islands. And I think that that's the shame that's behind this.
Wow. We do have a question here. Let me just try to find this from Perla. Perla says, now that Prospect is developing so fast with these homes, do you think that the Prospect Primary School should expand? Many moving into Prospect for sure to avoid the traffic all the way to Bodden Town.
Let me answer that, Perla. Great question. And here's what I've been saying for the time I declared. Look at who is actually developing the property. Most of these people are major developers. You know that none of these people actually contribute to our infrastructure. They can throw down a $30 million condo complex. Look at just what's around Hurley's. If we add up the value of those 5 major investments just right around Hurley's supermarket, that's causing a crop load of traffic jams around that. You know what they have contributed to our infrastructure? Zero. What major developers must be made to do is contribute to schools. So if that means that we now need to build another school, that's what major developers should be doing. Our sidewalks, our sewage systems, our flooding. Austin talked about he's done the research, is what he said on the chamber forum. He's done the research on flooding in Prospect. You know, Austin, to have a degree in engineering or any sort of infrastructure qualification? I don't know of that. I contacted the NRA because so many people have been, complaining about their houses being devalued. So I contacted the director of the NRA because I wanted to understand. I am not gonna say to people that I have an engineering degree and I know what's going on. I wanted to be guided, so I went there. I went to NRA and I reached out to the director. Can you tell me what has been done? And it's the same thing that Austin have been done. He said that he's come up with a number, but the number is large, guys. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive to fix the flooding issue in Prospect. You know what he's actually saying? He don't really know what's going on, because if it's that expensive, why are we throwing down $50 million in roads? You know how many roads in Prospect have been paved and not even a proper drainage system is put in there? So you know what's going to happen over the next couple of years? All of that tar is going to be eaten off by water settling on it. That's what's going to happen here. So Perla, your question is great. It's a question that everyone have asked. Should we be forcing big developers to put down infrastructure? Yes, that includes building schools, right? We have this Go East movement, right? We are building now up in the Bordentown, North Side, East End, and so forth. Why aren't we not forcing these people to create a fund that protects our homes there, that ensures that our people get scholarships, that jobs are protected? We should be having those conversations. I don't have a problem, with people coming in and putting down developments, but Caymanians must benefit. And right now, Caymanians aren't benefit. Let me also tell you something, Perla, that will completely blow your mind as well. Every forum that I've been in, whether it's the Rooster Forum, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, I've just this weekend I was in another forum at CIS. Phenomenal young people from all walks of life put together another forum that a number of us attended, and they wanted to find out, what are we going to do about protecting their futures? You know what a lot of people said in these forums? Oh, I'm going to make sure that training programs are available. And I'm just sitting there, I'm laughing to myself because they're lying. You know why they're lying? I've had a training program, a training center licensed by the government, accredited by US accreditations, of almost 3,000 square foot. We have well over 100 plus people running through our center now on a weekly basis. You know how many of those same politicians or candidates have sponsored a young person? 0 of them. You know how many of them have called me to make a referral of a young person being out of employment or being underemployed or simply needing somewhere else to be? 0. I guarantee you, if you contact Cayman Career Academy, Ms. Jackie can tell you the exact same thing. Every 4 years, you know what candidates run on? Training programs, TVET training programs. They promise it. You know how many of them have actually delivered on a training program? None. They will not deliver on a training program because they don't believe in the concept. Not one scholarship have come from these people, not one referral. And yet we have 13,000 people on welfare. We have 3,000 of those people that are just from the tourism sector alone. And not one person have contacted me to say, Michael, I think that this person needs training. And yet they consistently talk about training programs. Oh, we just need more TVET programs. You know what they're actually saying, Perla? They're saying we need a big, shiny building that we can cut the ribbon on and that we can take credit for it. That's what they're actually saying that they want. TVET don't need big buildings. TVET needs a small room with a really good instructor to guide people through a qualification. And then the business sector need to take these people on because they're Caymanians and they're qualified. Perla, they're not going to say that. What they're going to say to us is that I need a big, shiny building that I can open. That's it. That's all. So that's what I would be pushing for. And that's why I don't have people on my stage, because I don't know who they're connected to. I don't know what their agendas are, because I have tried to reach out to a lot of these folks as well. And when I sit down and listen to their agendas, I'm saying, you have this big, beautiful manifesto. And I've looked at their manifestos from 4 years ago. They haven't done any of that. So How are they going to deliver on the manifesto now? You know what I'm running on? The community has delivered for me. Every program that I have ever delivered, any trainings that I have done, any programs I put in the public school system or private school system, you know who has helped deliver that? The private sector. Government have only jumped on board when the programs were already in place. When Bonnie and I created Youth Act to combat youth violence, to combat gangs, drugs, alcohol, we put a team of people from prison, police, and many private sector agencies together. Government didn't sponsor that. Her and I sat out. We raised over $100,000 to ensure that that was effective for 6 years. And we consistently said to the government, you have to fund the program. That went to the wayside, right? Because they don't want to fund anything. But everybody wants to complain that we have too much bullying. We have too much bullying in the school system. So you know what we are going to do? Suspend those kids. They're going to come out in the street. They're going to commit a crime. They're going to end up in youth court. And then it's a vicious cycle of down that criminal justice way, because we need to justify Northwood being $25 million a year. That's what this is, right? This is a cycle that we've been in for the last 30 years. And Alden knows about this. I was another forum. You know, Inclusion came on, invited a number of us to another forum, right? I was there and I heard Alden talk about, well, you know, I don't think that, you know, the Cayman Islands is cultural ready for inclusion. Bullshit. Cayman Islands have been ready for inclusion for like 15, 20 years. You know what hasn't happened? They've created a disabilities committee. They've detoothed the disabilities committee. They don't have any power to do anything. Why are we creating all of these committees if they don't have the power to make things happen for people? Alden sat in the same audience that I sat at, where these women were pouring their hearts up about the nightmares that they have lived. Nightmares. They can't get access to health care, rejected consistently by schools because their kids are autistic or have other learning deficiencies that their schools do not want to put in place. It's expensive. He sat and he heard all of this. And then he said to these women, you know something, you know, just remember that I put in the disabilities policy. I put in the disabilities committee. And I'm saying, and what has it done? It hasn't done anything. Like it's not a success, right? So you're talking about things that are not successful. That doesn't solve the problem for these mothers now. You know what I would have done if I was the premier? I would have said, I give you my word that we're going to fix this. I'm going to call Juliana and John right now, and we're going to make sure that this is fixed, because it can be. Money is not our problem, folks. If the government is promising to give people $2,000 as their campaign promise, they're going to give 3,000 people $2,000. Think about this. Do the math. You know how much that is a month? That's $6 million a month. You know what we can do with $6 million a month? We can provide a teaching assistant in every school in this country for $6 million a month. Think about it. That's like that. Like, this is what these folks are saying to you, right? They're saying to you, we don't really care about this sort of inclusion because this doesn't really impact my child. This doesn't impact my family. That's you guys' issue. What we want is more tar on the roads. What we want is a John Gray that's going to cost us $170 million over the next year or so. That's what we want, because we can cut a ribbon and I can put a plaque on that with my face that says, Alden McLaughlin opened that, Juliana opened that, or whoever opened that. And they can sit out there and smile and for the cameras. But when the kids that go through it consistently get a level 1 diploma, which are 5 courses at E, F, or G with 90% attendance and less than 15 days suspension, you know where they're going to come out? On the street, unemployed, underemployed, broke, and possibly may commit a crime to go into the prison system. This is what they're giving us. And if we continue to vote for the same thing, we are enabling them to beat us every 4 years. That's what we are enabling Austin to do. Beat us up every 4 years. And I am not about to do that, because I don't like the beating already. And I make a decent living, but I know that there are so many Caymanians in our country could be doing better. they do not have the support and they do not have the will of our people that has elected a government that has no care in the world for the people. What they want to do is trash infrastructure, trash environment. They're going to build on everything. And before you know it, there's going to be a huge complex right next to you that's a gated community.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? Like, what are we going to do? You know, I had a gentleman say to me, well, you know, I think that you should join the coalition government. And I said, okay, tell me why. And he was making an argument. So I said, okay, you just sat here and berated Austin in my presence. What has he done? He's joined the coalition government. So you're telling me to join a government that, one, I don't believe in their philosophy, but Austin hasn't done anything. You were telling me that he needs to be voted out, but you're telling me that I need to join it because I need to get stuff done. And I've already gotten a lot of stuff done without joining them. Do I believe that we need to come together as candidates? Yes, we need to come together as candidates and put our agendas aside and focus on Caymanians. That's it. Focus on how do we move Caymanians forward, because the country has moved forward. We haven't as a country. I said to this same gentleman, take a drive through Watlers Road. I'm 47 years old. It hasn't changed. Or take a drive through the swamp or Rock Hole, where Frank Cornwell grew up. Yet the roads aren't paved there. There's no parks in there. There's no infrastructure. There's no affordable housing there. So I'm going to join a government that I know that I'm going to become Austin. There's no way in hell I'm doing that. Like, why would I do that? Then, you know what Caymanians are going to say to me? Boy, Michael, have no integrity. Of course I have no integrity if I do that. There's no way I'm doing that. Right? That's what these people are now trying to do. They're trying to cling to power, and that's it. They just want power and control. The power and control to continue to do what they've always done. And that's what I believe, Sonia, that Caymanians are going to have to get hit with the idea that they're going to have to take some risk here. And the risk is moving away from what they had to what they can get better. To someone that can at least be honest with you. Right. That's the least that I'm going to be honest, dead honest with you, but we're going to do it together. I don't have the time to come in and say, well, you know, all you need is a turkey and a $50 gift card. That's not helping anyone. It's going to help you for the day, but I want to be able to sit with you and make sure that you have a budget, that that your resume is done, that we're getting you back out there in the workforce, that you're competitive, that your kids are competitive. Right? There's some hard decisions that are going to have to be made here, right? The government can't bail out everybody. We have too much talent in our country for us to sit down and say to our people, well, I'm just going to take care of you for the rest of your life. That is not who we are. It has never been. Like, I don't know where that have come from. I'm not that. My kids aren't that. Certainly, the woman that gave me birth isn't that. She's worked 3 jobs at times. She can't keep still. She's always doing something to help someone else. Who we are is a community that help people that care about the people that we have raised. We cannot allow our children to not be competitive in this stage, because what the present government have done is that they have created this work permit system where they're making a lot of money off of it. So they believe that's what we'll continue to do. We'll balance the budget, guys, on Caymanians' backs. We're going to make $90 million or $100 million a year, and they have it in their minds. I can tell you this. This is on a spreadsheet. This is on a spreadsheet, folks. It's on a spreadsheet that these people are making an insane amount of money off of work permits, and they know if they can top up to 40,000 work permits, they're topping $130 million. But what they do not realize is that $60 million of that goes to NAU to keep us in poverty, keep us on welfare, keep us with their hands out. That's what they're doing. We deserve better. We deserve more. And that's what I want to do. I want to give us more, a fighting chance at more, a fighting chance of our children and grandchildren. You know, your daughter is how old now?
4.5.
4.5 years old. I mean, could you imagine when she gets 19, 20 years old, right? Where are you going to live? right? I have a 7-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
She'll probably live with me for the rest of her life. I have a 25-year-old that's trying to find property. It makes a pretty decent living. There's nothing affordable for her. I have a 21-year-old coming home in May that's on a full scholarship. She's not going to be able to afford property. Why aren't we electing people that's going to give us that fighting chance? And that's all I want from Caymanians. Let me help you give you that fighting chance, just like I've done for the last 30 plus years of ensuring that whenever I am called to put my nose to the grind, that I'm going to get that stuff done, but with you beside me. And that's what I promise Caymanians. Do not just give me a tick, a vote, an X. What I want is engagement afterwards. In every house that I've visited, everyone that I've come up in, I've said, we need a district council. I need you involved. I was speaking to a young mom this weekend who's concerned. She has 2 kids, one in high school, one at Prospect Primary School, and is concerned. Where's the country going? She's asking me, what do we get? Like, what is my kids going to do? I'm a single mom. Where are my kids going to work? And I'm saying, good question. Here's what I'd like to help with. But we need to change the government. Like, I can't change it sitting at Inspire Kim and training every day, right? That is working. I know that's working. We need to fix the education system. So in the end, Inspire is a complement. It's not the go-to, right? Parents are bringing their kids to me as a go-to because they know that they haven't graduated high school or they have a level 1 diploma that's not going to get them anywhere. And that's the sad part. We need to change that part. I don't want to get kids at the end of the spectrum. We have to make sure that our early childhood programs are working. Our year 1s and our year 2s are working. So what we need to do, hire the best people. Make sure that the ratios in those rooms are 5 or 6 to 1, not 28 to 1. Who's going to learn that way? Our kids aren't learning that way anymore. When you are stuck in the classroom filled with kids and many of them are special education needs or have other things going on, how can one teacher cope with that? Sandy, I've seen this. I've been in our public schools as a senior management leader at Hope Academy. I could not imagine running Hope Academy with 20-something children in one classroom. You talk about chaos. Ours is 10, and we have 2 teachers that we need in each of those classrooms. And that's why the inspection went well. That's why we're ranked higher, because we're spending the money in year 1, in grades 1, in early childhood, because when they get into middle school, if you're not correcting that in elementary school or primary school, it's done, right? You have to do something a little bit different.
So we do have a few questions and comments. So Sanya says, actually, let me back up because I did see one come in from Levon, and I think you should address this. There's quite a few comments coming in, but of course we will try to get to all of them. So Levon says Michael's tactical school, I don't know what tactical means, but maybe you can tell us, is sponsored by DART. How can he be trusted? So what tactical school are we talking about here?
No, I'm not. I have no clue what she's talking about because my school isn't and one of the things that I want to clarify, I don't run a school. I run a TVET center.
Yeah.
The DART organization, like many organizations, has provided funding, not direct funding to me. What they have done is made sure that the center got off the ground. Is DART is the DART organization 100% funding of this center? No. Rotary has sponsored young people. They haven't given me the money. They've sponsored young people coming in. I've also dumped $50,000 of my own money in it. So I'm not. I don't know what she's talking about, but certainly if she knows something that I don't know, please give me a call. I'd like to hear.
Ron is a man, by the way.
Oh, well, sorry.
Michael Troy says, very compelling viewpoint on the failings of past governments. Hopefully your passionate insight will help change things and create real progress for our people. So lots of other comments. Thank you, Damien. Sorry. Thank you, Perla, Jasara, Sherry. Wishes you all the best. Elizabeth, Magdalene. So let me just find that comment again from Sanya. So Sanya says, so it's my understanding that you hate to see the help displaced tourism workers are getting any help. So is that what you just said?
I didn't say that. I mean, I don't think anybody heard me say that. I'm simply saying that if we're going to give the $2,000 to displaced tourism workers, let's help them with transition into jobs. We cannot continue to pay $6 million a month. We have to help these people move into another full-time job until tourism comes back. And I've said
because the reality is tourism is not coming back anytime soon.
Correct. So what are we going to do? Continuing to pay $6 million a month? We can't, like, that's not sustainable for anybody long term, right? These people are talented, right? We have to, like, there's other sectors that we can place these people in. So yes, help them. They're Caymanians. They need help. They need health insurance. They need a stipend to get by, but they also need skills training to move them to another sector.
Yeah.
We cannot allow them to just sit at home.
To me, Michael, how many people actually think, how many tourism workers have been misled by this government to think that there is a limitless amount of money to continue to support the tourism sector. I'm just like, if you work in tourism, and in fact, the government, I need to go find this clip because at one point, Roy McTaggart himself said that we may have to start considering a tax system in order to pay for what has happened during COVID. So Sanya, on the one hand, they're going to quote unquote give you $2,000, which the premier has just said he will raise to $2,500 or whatever, right? And then they're going to turn around and tax you on your earnings because they cannot sustain it.
Free money. It's
so
not
stop
free
making
money.
the government lie to you, folks. There is no such thing as a free meal, not even from your government.
And who's paying for it? In the end, someone is paying for it. Us, we are paying for it, right? So I'm not opposed to supporting our people. I mean, if anybody who knows me, I've given my everything. If I don't do one more thing in Cayman for the next 30 years, I'm good because I've done it all. I've helped as many as I possibly can on my own dime at times. And I love doing it. You know why? Because so many people have helped me. So when I hear people say, well, you know, DART owns the center, based on what? I you know, based on what? Of your in-depth knowledge of what I do? I don't run a school, I run a training center. Like everything else, no Caymanian walking through the door, I can get scholarships for. So you know what I've had to do, Sandy? I've had to develop a nonprofit, raise 50% of my time is pounding the pavement every day to raise funds because 99% of Caymanians walking through the door for training do not have funding. But I need them to get the funding. So therefore, I have to support them. I've raised over $100,000 in the last year in just scholarships. We've given out at least 40 scholarships and then some, right? We have to do this. So I'm not opposed to helping the tourism workers. I'm saying, let's get them trained. Let's move them on. You know, James Whitaker, I know, was on your show talking about how the government or how OFREC is killing the solar industry. You know how many jobs we can have?
Well, it's costing people jobs already.
Of course, like we're hemorrhaging jobs. James is having to lay off people because he can't afford it. He's done the best he possibly can to sustain it for this long. We've just signed $1 million contract with DART to cap the dump. You know who they're going to bring in to help cap that? Not Caymanians, because we're not qualified in that area. We should be ensuring that our tourism workers are trained up in renewable energy so they can actually go and cap our dump. That's ours. We built that. We need to cap that because it's jobs. And when tourism comes back, they go back to being a boat captain. They go back to being a water sports operator. They go back to the hospitality industry. Like I'm not saying that you need to stay in construction for the rest of your life, but what if we can give every tourism worker, every one of them, a dual skill set that when tourism is down, they can move on into another industry? Wouldn't that be phenomenal? With $6 million? With $6 million, we can train up 3,000 tourism workers in at least 5 or 6 different skill sets. I guarantee you. I guarantee that any tourism worker that want training with $6 million, we can train them all up easily. It doesn't take a lot. These people already have skills. They're employable. They run boats. They could fix just about anything. I mean, I've watched these guys pull down jet skis upon jet skis. They're technicians. I mean, all of these people are coming skilled already. We just need to get them ready for another industry. And this is what James has been trying to do. I mean, every time I talk to James, I learn something new about the industry. I can offer, I have a qualified program right now that we can offer that's international approved, that we can train up people in solar. Yeah, James and I have sat down and talked, and he's like, Michael, don't pay for this because I can't hire them. So if you train up people, they can't come to me because I don't have the work for them, because I don't have the business, right? So these are things that are going to be hanging over our heads for a very long time, and we can actually do better. I'm telling you, we can do better. We don't need the Austins of the world to do this. Caymanians can actually get this stuff done. This stuff isn't hard. I've proven it. We should have a training program in every community in this country. It don't have to be centralized like mine, but if we can't get scholarships, if we can't get Caymanians to have grants or scholarships, how do I expand the business to East End that have one of the highest unemployments there? Like how do I go to West Bay that also have very high unemployment, right? How do we expand it? If I'm constantly spending 50% of my time trying to raise money, and then what I'm doing, then I'm pulling money away from ARC, Feed Our Future. I don't want to compete with these agencies. They're doing a phenomenal job. They deserve community support. What I deserve and what Caymanians deserve is to get the training that they need. And I could understand, son, if I was just some hole in the wall, not a licensed center, not accredited. I am a licensed center. I've gone through a lot to be licensed, right? I've gone through a lot to be accredited. I've paid my dues for it. All I'm asking for, and I've met with Juliana, I've met with the Minister of Education, I've met with a lot of folks. They cannot give me a document that says local grant for TVET. They can't. Not even a piece of paper that says local grant. That when a person walks through my door, I can say, okay, fill this out. Let me give you an acceptance letter, and let's get this information back in. They still can't figure that out, right? So these are things that I believe that ultimately we have to help the tourism workers. We have to move them forward, but it cannot simply be about just giving money. We have to help them with skills, and we have to help them transition to another industry in the meantime that tourism is being built by.
So we have a comment that's come in on WhatsApp, and this listener to the program says, I agree with him. There are many jobs that Caymanians can do, like spa receptionist, spa or salon concierge, home store cashiers, but management is lying about the position names for permits to be granted for those no-skill jobs. Like, how hard is it to answer a phone and book a client or sell a piece of furniture? I really hope that they can place the Caymanian tourism workers in these industries.
I agree.
So
a
number of issues there about people abusing, the immigration system.
Right. But Sandy, I've heard you talk about it many, many times.
Yes.
You don't follow up with these. Like these people are advertising on the work website. They put stuff in the newspaper. We see it all the time. Maintenance person, $6 an hour, 20 years experience. And you're like, really? I mean, come on, man.
And then Elizabeth makes the point that other people need help, not just tourism sector workers. The unemployment figures are high, yet the work permits are still being issued. And I must say that every turnaround in the Real Women of Cayman group, you see someone who's coming in, obviously on a work permit. Oh, my husband just got a job. My husband is coming. We're bringing the whole family. How can I find a job when I get there? How can I bring my fifth removed, lost long uncle? I mean, it's just at some point, it becomes ridiculous when you see these comments. Now, Marva makes an interesting point about education that I think is worth a read. Now, she talks about the number of students in a classroom. So she says that she missed some of what Michael said, but in regards to classroom sizes, she can confirm that reception students have about 20 to 21 children. Years 1 and 2 average 22 to 24. But from years 3, we're talking about classes with 28 plus. Now, first of all, I read many, many years ago, and I can't remember exactly where I read it. I'd have to try to look that back up. But there was something that talked about the single most important factor for children and they're in the classroom success stories, right? There's a direct correlation between the student to teacher ratio. And the lower that you keep that student to teacher ratio, the more successful your children will be. So it seems like it's such an easy formula in my mind to fix, especially when you have a population the size of the Cayman Islands. Our public schools, by the way, are not closed, and people keep saying this as a bit of misinformation, but our public schools are not closed to foreign nationals coming in. It's subject to availability. So if we don't have the classrooms and we are cramping in our own children, 28 plus in a classroom like they're sardines, what will you expect is the end result when study after study has proven that classroom sizes, which it determines the student to instruction and teacher ratio, is the number one marker of how successful your children will be in school. 28 plus children from years 3 onwards for any teacher to handle is just crazy to me.
Well, I mean, based on the standard, people are saying that because England England has set that pace, so there's a lot of people in education feels that is a typical classroom standard, and our teachers should be able to manage 28 kids.
Wow.
And I have always asked, when I was in education, would you put your child in a classroom with 28 other kids, knowing that potentially they have a learning disability or some level of SEN? There will not be. And something, those people that have stood up and justified this big number, where their kids are at Prep or Catholic.
Of course.
Right? They are in the private school, right? Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot say that this is justifiable if you're not willing to actually put your own child in it. Right. So
I'll speak from a little bit from personal experience, Michael. I mean, like you said, my daughter's only 4.5 years old, but she has been in two different schools. And, one of the things that I've noticed with her last school is when we do our teacher parent sessions, they are so much more in tuned to who she actually is as a child. And they can make certain observations about her personality and the things that she does. Whereas I felt like the previous reviews that we'd gotten, from another daycare center, like we would sit there and listen to what they were saying and we'd be like, well, that's strange because that's not how she is at home, or that's not how she is with us, right? So I always take these teacher parent sessions with a grain of salt, having had my own experience where a school principal actually said to my mom that, you should put this young child in Lighthouse School because she has a learning disability. And to this day, I don't really know what would have been the premise of why that recommendation was made.
It's a default. It's a default, Sandy. I mean, that's what it is. It's a default. Like, let's not think beyond the Lighthouse School, right? So, and this is what they say to a lot of parents, because I get it all the time. I mean, parents call us at Hope Academy and, they write these very expensive reports that an ed psych have or this one have written, and all of a sudden the kid is misdiagnosed. They're not on the right medication or they're on too much medication. Or they've just sat in a classroom and they haven't been challenged. They're really gifted. They're they're in a class that's just not suitable for them, right? Yeah. So like I see this all the time, and I'm a social worker working in education. And if I can see this as a social worker, and there are people that have all this education experience and all these education degrees, and they can't see that, something is wrong. Yeah. But let me also make a point here. How often do you know that the minister or chief officer, all of these people go into the public school system to look to see what the chaos is? I guarantee you that they don't. And when they do, it's pre-planned. They come with their entourage, and it's come to take pictures, to put it in the newspaper, to hail. You saw people walking around on the new John Gray site, taking a lot of pictures, hailing $75 million first phase, right? We're going to be moving in at the end of 2021. But you didn't see, hey, you know something? 60% of our kids are failing. They graduate with a level 1 diploma and they actually can't get jobs. You know, that's not that's not sexy, right? What they want is a building, right? That's what they want. They want a building that they can put their names on, and that's their legacy, right? But you can't put your name on a person that you served, right? That's what I want to do. I don't need to put my name on a building. My daughters are going to be my legacy, right? That's my life's work. And when they carry on with their own families, I know I've gotten them to where they need to be. That's good enough for me. I don't need my name on a building.
I know we're running out of time here, Michael, but it's also like last week, someone said to me that Frank Cornwall showed up to the inter-primary sports day for all of about 20 minutes, just to, again, like you say, a photo op. And then he left and he didn't come back. And they said, you know, by comparison, the sitting MP, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, was there all 3 days and seemed genuinely interested, as he has for the past 3 years, in supporting these children. So again, this is what the Progressives is putting forward, that we, the people, should be happy with that type of representation. And they're saying to vote for these individuals. Let me just show you something. Again, Marva makes a point here about the Minister of Education last year, saying that there was some $300,000 plus sitting in an education fund, I guess, waiting for the mechanic program that did not get started due to the government not working with the company who was offering the program. Let us have a look at this comment that someone sent us that was posted on social media. It says, "My dear friends, be careful how you bash the alliance. Why? Simple. There'll be at least 7 of them reelected, and all of these independents will be too glad to join them because everyone is looking for a ministerial seat. 4 more years of Progressives." So that's the logic, is that at least 7 are going to get in. I mean, their logic seems a little bit strange to me, but this was likewise sent out on social media, on WhatsApp. And it said, perhaps the people need to ensure that any quote unquote independent who turns and works with the Progressives this time around will only serve 1 term. And then another reply said, "My dear friends, please be careful how you join the alliance. Look at what happened to Tar and Austin. Even poor John and Alva are now on life support. The CDP joined them, and look at what happened to their party. They are now running as independents." Let that be a lesson to candidates that mislead the public. So the people are saying that they are fed up with all of the duplicitousness and the lies that comes in the world of politics for some people.
I totally agree with you, Sandy. And this was said, I will meet with anyone. I've had loads of meetings with folks from Prospect to Eastern to Northside to West Bay. I've met with anyone and everyone that's willing to sit down and talk about how we want to proceed, not how Michael Myles want to proceed, how we want to proceed as a country, protecting our people. That's what I'd like to talk about, right? In the end, Sunday, this is going to come down to people voting. That's what this is going to come down to. This is going to come down to people voting their conscience and voting for something that's more, something that spells integrity on it, something that in the end has an outcome to it, not just about activity, something that just isn't just wrapped up in building a building or the photo ops that these folks take. It's going to come down to Caymanians moving forward. And that's what I have said to folks in Prospect. If you want different, then elect me. Let me carry on doing the work, because that's never going to stop. And I will say this as well. It's not going to define who I am. Being an MP isn't an aspiration of mine. It's not. Being a servant leader, that's an aspiration of mine, right? I want to serve. And whether I am an MP or Michael Myles, Joe Blow citizen, that's what I'm going to do anyways, because it's the right thing to do. So if I haven't met you on the canvassing trail, call me, 939-1301. Let's talk. You can send me an email, electmichaelmyles@gmail.com. You can go on my website, www.electmichaelmiles.com. All of my position points are there. I don't have anything to hide about who I stand with or who I don't stand with. People have looked, I have been out there since September of 2020. I've talked to a lot of folks. You haven't seen anybody on my platform because I have a specific agenda. I know that getting into politics, Sandy, that I need to work with these people. They're going to be colleagues. I'm not against working with people, but they have to be with ensuring that Caymanians are first, right? I'm not joining a party because I need a position. Why? If all of us want lower cost of living, why do I need to join the alliance? If all of us want better education, why do I need to join the alliance? We all want the same thing, according to them. So why do I actually need to join them to have that for Caymanians? Because isn't that what this is about? This is not about Michael Myles and my salary. This is about Caymanians and how we move them forward, right? And I believe that that has to be the difference now. But if people are joining parties and joining coalitions because they just want a ministerial role, they can have it. Have the ministerial role. I don't need it, right? People have said, hey, I think you need to be education minister. No, I don't. If I believe that it's the right fit and the right thing for me, I'll get it done. But if the education minister is doing their job, I support the education minister. If we can put a second and third person in all of our classrooms to make sure that inclusion happens, I'm all for it. I don't care who the education minister is. If universal health care is guaranteed to every Caymanian, I don't care who the health minister is. If the cost of living is reduced, that Caymanians could keep up with the pace of inflation, I could care less who that person is. It doesn't really matter to me. What I care about, Caymanians must, not maybe, Caymanians must progress now. Not the country. We progress the country. We have the best financial sector in the world. Our financial sector is the best in the world. We certainly have proven that we can build. Because look around, we are building and everything. So we have some of the best, from construction firms to, individual professionals in this country. So we have perfected the art of building. We don't need to prove it to the world anymore. What we have not perfected, Sandy, is how we serve our people. That's what we've not perfected. How do we serve Caymanians? How do we make sure that every Caymanian is guaranteed a job? Guaranteed a job because they're qualified, they're trained, they're educated. That's what I would like to do. I'd like to stand with any government that wants to do that. The other 18 people, I'd like them to feel as passionate and as prideful as I am about our people. That is what Michael Myles is about. And that's what I am never going to veer from. Job or no job, MP or no MP. This is not going to be my defining moment, people. Because what I've been defined as already is a husband and a father and a citizen. I've represented the national program for many years. I've traveled all over this world. I wasn't supposed to get a football scholarship, but I did. I wasn't supposed to become a social worker, but I did. And I've done a lot. So being an MP isn't a special thing for me. Being a servant leader is. That's what this is about. So I appreciate your time, Sandy. I appreciate people writing in. So I appreciate you always, reaching out to give me a quality time and being able to speak to some folks out there.
Well, Michael, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. We certainly see and appreciate your passion. Good luck. You've got a week and a day before we'll know what the results are, folks. Just remember, April the 14th is literally right around the corner, and that is election day. So don't get confused. Don't go out on the 15th like some other candidates have told you to do. Go out on the 14th because the 15th, it will be too late. Michael, thank you so much. We really enjoy having you in the program. Charlene says Michael is genuine. He's not speaking, he's not only speaking reality facts, truth, but he's speaking from the heart, love of people, love of country. Thank you, Michael. Wishing you all the success.
Thank you, Charlene. Appreciate it. Folks, please enjoy the rest of your Easter holidays. Please be safe. I know a lot of people are going to be coming off the beach all at once today, or if not tomorrow. Please be safe out there. I mean, I'm so tired of waking up in the morning and seeing trees trying to climb, cars trying to climb trees. So please, let's come off the beach safely. Let's get back to work safely. And I'll see you guys next week. as we move this country forward. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, my dear. Good stuff. All right, folks. So that's another segment with Mr. Michael Myles. He is a candidate for the District of Prospect, and also in that district is sitting MP Mr. Austin Harris, who I think has got a problem on his hands, and Sabrina Turner, who's also running as an independent candidate. So just want to remind you all that we do have all day long election coverage coming up.
And now, get ready for a full day of election coverage, including historical analysis, candidate bios, polling station coverage, and much more. 8 commentators covering over 50 years. Audience participation makes it your most interactive resource on Election Day. Don't miss it.
Yes, folks. So we got everyone from Craig Marin to Roy Bodden. We've got Karen Thompson. We have Troy Leacock. It is going to be a full and wonderful lineup. We even have Mr. Famous joining us from Bermuda. So that should be incredibly interesting. Jevi is going to be here, and Ruth Anna Young. So Craig Marin, that's 8 of us, giving you all day coverage. Plus, we will be checking in at every single polling station, folks. So you don't want to tune into any other resource for your election day coverage. Just make sure that you know that we're going to be bringing it to you all day long. I'm super excited. I don't drink coffee, but Lord knows that day I might have to have a little cup of mocha or something just to make sure that I'm staying on top of things. So big shout out to Mr. Elias Solomon. Here is one of his paid adverts that he is saying that these are issues that you, the people, need to be very mindful of.
There's 3 major things that has to be addressed in the Cayman Islands: cost of living, diversifying the economy, and self-sufficiency. And when I talk about self-sufficiency, I'm talking about our ability, our capacity to be able to take care of ourselves. Let's focus on agriculture, where all of us want to make sure that we're hoping for the best. We always have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Just imagine for a second if a hurricane was to come and sit between here and Florida, just like Hurricane Mitch did in 1998 in Honduras. What would happen? I would bet you the shelves would be empty, or at the minimum, very much depleted. That in itself should be able to identify to us that there is a major problem in terms of our capacity to feed ourselves here in the Cayman Islands. We have to solve that problem. And that's why if and when elected, I'm going to head out east and see if we can free up a lot of this locked land, open it up for opportunities for agriculture as well as other types of development. And when it comes to farming, whether it be livestock or plant life, I believe we can look beyond the borders of the Cayman Islands. What's preventing us from going to countries like Jamaica or to Honduras and actually owning or buying farms that are already functioning and operating and even exporting to other countries, making it Cayman Islands property? I believe that that's absolutely possible. In addition to that, creating opportunities for our local investors to be able to invest into those companies and other persons through their pensions accounts as well. To me, the opportunities are tremendous, and that's my vision.
My name is Ori Marin, and I'm here to talk a bit about my dear friend and colleague, Ulrich Lindsay. We both are attorneys at law in the Cayman Islands. Initially how we met through legal practice, but we've also come to become friends and also have worked together a bit in seeking to construct remedies and solutions that can help the Cayman Islands and its people, in particular also Georgetown's South constituents. Mr. Lindsay is somebody who I've found to exhibit characteristics of honesty, integrity, hardworking. He's very driven, he's honest, and he's very intelligent and capable of tackling the issues that we need in our upcoming MPs in the next election who are elected. Now, I would also like to say that Mr. Lindsay is somebody who I would say to you, do your homework. If you want, trust but verify. I would just say that this is an absolute honor and pleasure for me to provide my endorsement and support for Mr. Lindsay in the next election, and I hope you all do the same. God bless you all. God bless the Cayman Islands and our people. Thank you so much.
Miracle Brokers International is Cayman's premier source for all your packing, moving, and logistics needs. Whether it's moving a baby grand piano for a concert or moving halfway around the world, we have you covered with our team of local and international experts. MBI has over 30 years of industry experience and are able to get the job done for you right the first time. Contact us today for all your packing, moving, shipping, and logistics needs at 949-5989 or email info@miraclebrokers.com.
All right, folks. So someone is asking about coverage for the BRAC. We will do our best. Now, I don't know. The BRAC candidates sometimes don't always respond when we send them messages and we try to get them on the program and so forth. I don't know if it's just slow internet or what's going on over there, but we will definitely include them if they're willing to be included. So yes, we are 3 islands, Little Cayman and Cayman BRAC, as well as Grand Cayman, and we don't exclude anyone. And in terms of polling station, we will be working directly with the candidates to ensure that they are available, or they at least have an agent who's available to check in with us. So the short answer is yes. We are hoping that the BRAC candidates will make themselves available. This does require them participating, folks. So there's only so much that we can do, but we do want to be inclusive of all 3 islands as well. So leaving you again with what I'm calling painful Vincent Frederick comments and Alden saying, meeting soon come.
It is citizens like you that to make one of the hardest choices each and every 4 years. This time, based on what the other options are, it should be fairly easy. And it will be wise to vote for the Alliance members to ensure that continued health protocols are left in place and not just thrown through the side by those that are seeking office, the wolves in sheep's clothing. We are very well off as a financial jurisdiction, and we need to ensure that the many Caymanians who are suffering are looked into and addressed by this administration. It is your collective and moral conscience that decides who your next member of parliament is going to be. That candidate must be willing to work with the government if he or she wants things done for you and your family in the constituencies that you come from. If they clearly cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen, they clearly do not have you at heart.
But the first thing I want to say to those of you from Red Bay and Prospect who are asking me when are we going to have a meeting in Prospect and Red Bay, soon come. Me and Austin will be there. It is going to be the biggest meeting that we have ever had when Austin and I come to town. So do not worry. Do not be faint of heart. We will be there in due course.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.